My name is Rupa Ganguli. My grandma really brought me up in the early days because mom and dad used to be working. And, she was a very simple woman, but she was strong-willed, but yet compassionate woman. But more importantly, she was also the person who sort of made me believe that you can really do anything. On the one hand, I was very fortunate to come from a very liberal-minded immediate family. So my parents, my grandma, as I mentioned, But then I was growing up also at a time when, a lot of things were not the norm. As a woman, as a girl doing things. I then became known as a very good 100 meters runner, and I represented, at very high levels going forward, and started playing hockey. Again, I had all kinds of things being said about me because I was carrying a hockey stick and wearing a short skirt and going to, practice hockey at weird hours of the morning or evening. So those are all kinds of challenges growing up. And then when I said, I'm interested in these textiles, because I was, walking to university doing economics at one time when I was about 17. And I would land up walking through the market because it was a shortcut. And basically, the idea was, looking at all these amazing fabrics, picking them up and creating stuff for yourself. And that was all fine. Then when I started wanting to create a business out of it, there were lots of people who said, wow, that's just not right for a girl to do and things like that. When boys did it, no one asked those questions. But every time I would pick up something new, it was just like, oh, well, what's the point? Luckily for me, again, I suppose to a large extent, other than the fact that I was pushing through these boundaries, I was quite fortunate to have my mom and dad both sort of stand by me to say, well, listen, you do what you need to do. And forget about what people are going to say. People are always going to say things. Just don't listen to stuff like that. The sky's the limit. Like, why not? I did economics and statistics, but then I was so fond of design and textiles. I applied to the National Institute for Textile Technology and Design and did it. Then won a scholarship and then came to Leeds. So it was not like, there was ever like a limit. They kept telling me, well, of course you can do more. Often, unless you break through those sort of barriers, to a large extent, people think, oh, it's just a small little thing you're doing on the side. It's a small business. And sure, you're keeping yourself busy, which is great. But not no one, but a lot of people don't give it that much importance to actually take it to the next level and think of it as a professional thing. It's your career. It's something that you're doing with the act. It is what you do. It's not just a little thing on the side. When it comes to decision making, when it comes to managerial positions, positions of ownership, positions where we're talking about, global expansion, etc., it is very rare to see female-led businesses. It is mainly run by men. And this has been the norm for years and years and years. And so when you walk in as a young woman into an industry, into a room where you're talking about textile strategy, textile policy and agreements and things, the first instance probably is to say, oh, what does she know? So that's been a challenge from when I used to walk in when I was 26. And I walked into a large forum where I was one of the panelists. And, we had 500 men staring at you thinking, like, what do you know that?
Are you bringing the tea?
Exactly. Like, why are you there? So what I believe in is backing yourself with knowledge and being strong in understanding what I'm talking about. So if I know what I'm talking about, I've backed myself with the information that I need to talk about. I could be a woman, a man, doesn't matter. Moving forward, I had amazing colleagues that I met right from different countries, from the US, from Zimbabwe, from Mexico, from Italy, and so many amazing, strong women who have been very supportive, and they bring their perspectives. And as a whole, you kind of realize, oh, well, actually, together we can do this and we can actually move forward. Being a part of a lot of the gender equality discussions and panels at high levels has also been very, very supportive for me. I mean, when I started out, Spin Our Circle, which was one of the non-profit networks that I started early on, about 2011 it was. And, it was all about bringing women in fashion and textiles together. When I started working at the UN, started working on the textiles and working on the textile supply chain and helping small businesses across the world actually access global markets. And in doing that, I came across lots and lots of really amazing products that were being made in all these countries, and often made by women. But then the women were almost hidden because they just didn't think it was good enough to be shown to anyone. Often in many countries, because of cultural reasons and norms, a lot of these women weren't allowed to take their products out because they'd have to deal with men across the chain. So as a result, setting up this kind of online network was brilliant because it was secure. It was just the women interacting with each other, which all happened because we were able to get these hidden talents to the forefront. So at the moment, I'm a founder of an organization and a platform called Inclusive Trade. So Inclusive Trade, as the name suggests, is about bringing really, the businesses and stories from around the world that are sustainable, that are ethical, that have this amazing positive impact on society, on environment, on gender. And the focus, or the sort of the key point that really is so exciting for me is to look at how we provide the transparency of that impact. This is linked to the Sustainable Development Goals. So we've got SDG 5, which is Sustainable Development Goal 5, which is on gender equality. There's Sustainable Development Goal 12, SDG 12, which is on responsible production and consumption, and SDG 13 on climate action. Especially in the case of small businesses, it's very difficult for them because of the scale, or the lack of scale, if you like, to sometimes get these industry relevant certifications because they just don't have the capacity or the scale. However, they do have impact, and you can see that. So there are different ways that we've learned how to measure that. So that's really exciting right now for me to bring more and more businesses on board who are, where we can show that, wow, this is how sustainable they are and why. And this is the impact they have on bringing so many women on board. And it's not just about the numbers, it's about the actual value that they bring. So like, for example, if you've got, so many women employed, brilliant. But how has that impacted their lives over a period of time? That for me is more exciting. So I'm kind of now working on moving that measurement, sort of that system, if you like, that we've developed the model into more and more kind of, what's the value, long-term value? What's the actual impact going forward? The impact that I see is really bringing more and more businesses that are hidden or invisible onto the supply chain. And largely, and I'm not just making this up, but the majority of these small businesses are run by women, but they're having this huge impact. And it's a known fact that women normally, when they're running something, they will tend to look after their community. They tend to look after where they're actually working. And as a result, it's a byproduct where it's not something that they're doing to tick a box. So for me, bringing that to the forefront, I feel is very valuable, strong, and not only helps that small business to grow, but actually builds a certain level of trust amongst consumers as well as producers. There's a long way to go still. There's so much work to be done. But yeah, you got to start somewhere. And I think the appetite is right as well, where people about maybe 10 years ago were not keen to listen as much when we started talking about Spinner Circle. But today I see a slightly more interested lot. I think consumers have become a bit more mature in many countries, definitely here in the UK. So it's a good time to try and get people to really make decisions based on facts and based on information, as compared to just like a big greenwashing brush, saying, oh, this is 10% organic. What does that even mean? Like, how can you have something 10% organic? That doesn't make any sense. I suppose I tell myself to have faith, because, and when I say faith, I don't mean it in a religious way. I just mean have patience and have faith, because I have pretty much led my life racing, like, going from one thing to the other, and yes, next what next what. And I suppose to a large extent, that is me. Like, I like that pace. I like that, growth of everything. But over time, I've also learned sometimes you can't just push things, and you have to sometimes let the pieces fall. So while I could go back to my younger self and tell her that, well, sometimes just step back and wait, knowing myself, I bet I wouldn't listen. So I bet a lot of people would have told me that. But I think that is the key as you grow and have experiences and meet different people and are in different circumstances, to learn to sometimes just step back and wait. Young people and children, I think they're so powerful today, and they're so well informed as well. Just the level of knowledge, the level of exposure, the level of everything that they have today. I think I would say to them, don't just take things for granted, right? Ask questions and start collaborating with other people who are like-minded. And today it's so much easier to do than it ever was. And use your time wisely, because my grandma used to say, time and tide waits for none. And it's just a saying that's stuck in my head, because absolutely, the time that you lose, you've lost forever. You're never going to get it back.